TNA Wrestling crosses the line again with another action-packed surprise-filled episode of TNA Impact. We are just 2 weeks away from the biggest pay-per-view in TNA history, Bound for Glory. A lot went down this week. We had some surprises. We had some enhancements to a match or some additions to matches. The world title picture has, or the world title match has kind of changed at Bound for Glory as well. Now it is all sorts went on this week on TNA, like it normally does, to be fair. We had Pick Your Poison. The X Division Championship was on the line as well in what could possibly be yet another match of the year contender from TNA. They've delivered constant match of the year contenders this year, and this one that we'll get onto in a minute. Leon Slater, Speedball Bailey is just as good as that. But let's start with Pick Your Poison 1, the first match. So what we're going to be doing here is Cardona and PCO have picked each other's poison matches ahead of their match at Bound for Glory. Now, just before we do that, we want to wish Steph Delander well. She has she underwent neck surgery. She has just posted on the X and Instagram some pictures to say that that she's had her neck surgery done. So we wish her well. We wish her a full, speedy, and healthy recovery. But as we were saying, Cardona and PCO will be going one-on-one at Bound for Glory. And before that, they picked their poison. PCO picked Nick Nemeth to face Matt Cardona in the main event. And Matt Cardona picked Rhino. And PCO had to defend his TNA Digital Media Championship and International Heavyweight Championship. And this was in a match that actually had no rules in a lot of ways. And another thing to point out, a big time congratulations to Bob Ryder and Rhino, who are going to be inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame. Very richly deserved. I'll have a chat with Rhino on Sunday when I see him at Slam Masters and obviously wish him the very best of congratulations for that. Definitely deserved. But he did take on PCO in this match. And I will say this. This was this reminded me of an ECW style match that Rhino would have. I mean, we had trash cans, we had kendo sticks, we had chairs, we had tables, we had everything in this. And so it was a real classic, old school type ECW match. Really, really enjoyable, real fun way to kick off Impact this week. Very, very much enjoyed it. The crowd was into it as well. They loved it over in Nashville. They were having a whale of a time with this. It was just a fun riot of a match. But PCO does pick up the crowd. Does pick up the win. He picked up the crowd as well. Yes, not literally, figuratively. They did bring a table into the ring at the end of near the end of the match, and PCO puts Rhino through the table and then hits with the PCO Salt for the victory. Crowd pleasing opening way to start TNA this week. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Absolutely loved it. A lot of fun. Hardcore style match to kick off Impact. Bound for Glory's in a couple of weeks, Adam. You should know this. But yeah, what a load of fun. What a load of fun on this one. Gia Miller at this point interviews Nick Nemeth, and he's been saying he was a fighting champion and he wants to defend the TNA, defend his championship in the bout. He wanted to defend the TNA championship in the bout against Cardona. But obviously, he'd be potentially compromising the main event of Bound for Glory, which Santino Marella said he didn't want to do. But he was basically going on and said he wants to beat Cardona tonight, or he's going to beat Cardona tonight, and then go on to Bound for Glory and beat Joe Hendry. We'll have to wait and see if that is that. Now, we did return back to TNA with Adriana Gray. So Ariana Grace, the liaison for NXT. And she brought out another NXT talent in Brittany Reese. I hadn't seen much of Brittany Reese on NXT. I will be honest with you. And she was taking on Ash by Elegance, what I think 45 or so in the top 250 this year of wrestlers. So congratulations to Ash. No surprises though, considering the meteoric rise that she's had since leaving WWE and coming to TNA. She settled into TNA fantastically well. Loved every minute of her new persona. Fits her great. The character work she does is fantastic. And she does take on Brittany Reese. To be fair, I mean, this was, I would say, a modified squash for Ash by Elegance. She did kind of get the victory pretty quickly. She finished her with the top rope finisher that she does. I said I hadn't seen a lot of Brittany Reese in NXT, so I can't comment on whether or not the showing, how good she is and stuff like that. It was a fun little match, really, for what it's worth. I think it was more of an enhancement for Ash, more than anything else. And it really it did enhance it, to be fair. Ash is, as I said, she's been a fantastic character. But she's announced next week the official VIP makeover launch party for Heather Reckless, which was going to be interesting if you remember a couple of weeks ago. Heather Reckless obviously joined Ash, and she said that she needed to change her style a little bit. Well, we're going to see the style. And after we saw a little teaser, Ash starts pouring lips or putting lipstick over Brittany's face. Zaya Brookside runs out to chase her off. Zaya Brookside, another one that's been a real, real great addition to TNA's knockout division this year. I've really enjoyed watching her compete. And again, the rise of her. I remember watching her over in Slam Masters a year or so ago. And from there, she has taken off. She's gone to TNA. And obviously, soon, don't forget that TNA have also signed Harley Hudson to a developmental contract. Harley Hudson's one of the best up and coming UK females we've got in the country. So, you know, with Harley potentially coming in at some point as well, things are really looking big for every women's division in wrestling right now is probably as strong as it's ever been. And it is definitely paying off. And I'm looking forward to seeing what's next. Kind of looking forward to the Heather Reckless makeover next week. I'll have to see how that how that works out for Heather and what Ash does to her. But interesting times. But we go from that to quite possibly, an instant classic evolving in front of our eyes was perfectly what's said by Tom Hannifan on this. This match was potentially match of the it is so difficult to say match of the year when we've had so many great ones on this. You remember Dempsey and Gresham, we had the 60-minute Iron Man match, just to name a few. We're going to have Full Metal Mayhem Bound for Glory, but this for the X Division Championship. Obviously we had Ultimate X as well, just for emergence, but Speedball Mike Bailey and Leon Slater was crazy. But before we get to that, let me just say we did get a kind of odd stalker style vignette with Rosemary and Wendy Cho, and they were kind of stalking Spitfire, Danny Luna and Jody Fret. And actually, that match has been made official for Bound for Glory for the Knockouts Tag Team Championships. Danny Luna and Jody Fret will take on Rosemary and Wendy Cho. So interesting times. But let's get back onto this X Division match. I mean, geez, last week when I was saying about it, I was going to say this is going to be one of the best matches we'll ever see in TNA, and geez, it was just amazing. And once again, Leon Slater steals the show on TNA with this match with Mike Bailey. It was just brilliant. The crowd were chanting "Fight Forever." They love it. There was just some incredible, incredible moments in this match. Um, Slater doing everything you would expect Leon Slater to do. His crazy dives. He's so fast paced. The crowd are enthralled with Leon Slater, and there is no reason why they shouldn't be. Mike Bailey as well is just an incredible, incredible talent. I mean, you had that sort of high flying excitement from Slater, and then you had Mike Bailey who was actually focusing on the limbs of Leon Slater to try and wear it down and to stop the speed and the high flying. It was just brilliantly, brilliantly done. And there was a time Leon Slater hit like a blue thunder bomb with a very close, um, pinfall on that point. And then at the end, Leon did go for his spectacular finisher, which he actually missed. And then Mike Bailey hits the flamenco driver to pick up the victory in this absolutely excellent title match on this week's Impact. And like I said, Tom Hannifan calling it the instant classic if folding one of our eyes was just a line perfectly that perfectly represents what this match was. They did have a little bit of mutual respect after the match as well. But, and just when you think that could you top that at Bound for Glory, there was a video package on. I'm getting a bit goosebumpy actually thinking about this. Quite crazy, I actually have. There was a video package that was playing for Ohio Del Vikingo. I would help if I get his name so. Del Vikingo, AEW, former AEW talent. I'm not sure if he is AEW or not. And Vikingo will be challenging Speedball Mike Bailey for the X Division Championship at Bound for Glory in 2 weeks' time. That announcement, you can hear the gasps of the audience, of the fans at ringside. When you hear that announcement, it's noticeable. It is absolutely noticeable. And wow, that match is going to, be off the charts. If anything, could it beat this match? It definitely could. I mean, no, Vikingo and Bailey is a dream match in any promotion, let alone a promotion like TNA that does this type of match justice. It is going to be insanely good. And if it doesn't give you a reason to buy Bound for Glory in 2 weeks' time on the TNA Plus app, I might add, then you're insane. Absolutely insane. This is going to be an incredible match. And I cannot wait for Bound for Glory in 2 weekends' time. It is going to be off the charts. Vikingo and Bailey added to Full Metal Mayhem, added to Joe Hendry and Nick Nemeth and everything else, and Spitfire and Rosemary and Cho and Jordan Grace and Slamovich, and wow. Pause for thought, take a breath, and then we'll come back to the Hardys and AB Bullet Club ABC. Now they will be opponents in 2 weeks at Bound for Glory in the Full Metal Mayhem match with the system. But however, next week they will be a tag team in an 8-man tag against the aforementioned system. So they were talking about, they were basically talking about that backstage, and they need to make sure that they are ready and on the same page next week. And, when we get to Bound for Glory, they can be, opponents, but they need to be together next week and collectively take out the system, which they are. But also ABC did say that they are ready to take out another veteran duo. Next week, Hardy's, ABC, the final week before Bound for Glory. Next week's TNA. Sorry, it's a week away. I keep thinking it's 2 weeks away. It's pretty much a week away. Bound for Glory. It is next weekend. What am I talking about? I've been saying 2 weeks for the whole podcast, and it's actually next Saturday. Next Saturday, Bound for Glory. I'm getting ahead of myself way too much on the show today. I don't know. Lack of sleep, maybe. I don't know. But incredible to think that we are literally that close to everything going on. All of these great matches are coming up in Bound for Glory next weekend. Incredible time. However, we come back to the Impact Zone, and out comes Mr. Mayhem himself, Steve Macklin. He makes his way to the ring. He gets on the microphone and talks about, he needs to have a talk with Eric Young. Eric Young doesn't come out though. He was well, who did come out, sorry, was the walking weapon Josh Alexander, along with Sinner and Saint, who, if you remember, aligned themselves with Josh a few short weeks ago. And Alexander has asked if we're really supposed to believe Macklin had a complete change of heart after one talk with Eric Young. He said he has spilled more blood in TNA than anybody in history, and he is the longest reigning world champion in the company history. The TNA poster boy and the heart and soul of the company. But he did say in the blink of an eye, the fans would turn their backs on him. And how does he believe that the fans are supposed to believe in a failure like Macklin? Well, this carries on for a little bit of time before, Macklin did later say at the end that you've got to check your ego. He says tonight is not one of those times as he lunges at Sinner and Saint to start a fight, which unfortunately the numbers game for Macklin gets the better of him quite quickly. And Alexander did join in a 3-on-1 beatdown. They end up zip tying his hands behind his back and gets hit with the C4 spike. Having said that, Josh Alexander versus Macklin is official for Bound for Glory next weekend. I'm going to keep saying next weekend now because I've totally said it was 2 weeks away when it's absolutely not. What an absolute idiot. But nevertheless, Macklin, Alexander, Bound for Glory. It's going to be absolutely incredible. Something else which is coming back at Bound for Glory next weekend, the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match. Now, the interesting thing about this was that the NXT TNA liaison, Ariana Grace, and of course her father, Santino Marella, were backstage with the tumbler that will be used. That gets me thinking NXT talent may be being used in the Bound for Glory Call Your Shot Gauntlet match. We actually had one over at Ignite. Taylor James won it, and for our sins. But yeah, Call Your Shot returns at Bound for Glory, and I think NXT will be involved in that Call Your Shot Gauntlet match, and that will be incredible stuff if that is the case. Now, Kazarian kind of gets involved at this point, and basically bad mouthing people. And Santino Morella was like, "Look, I'm the director of authority. It's not the last time we see Kazarian, though." So we'll bit more than that in a minute. Now, back inside of the impact zone, the system come out. Um, and then Santana comes out with a steel chair, which is wrapped around, which has got a chain wrapped around it and everything else. The referee goes out to try and basically get it off him, but he blasts Myers with it. And then in the ring, Santana is trying to take out each member of the system one by one as they try to attack him. He hits the spin the block with the chain on Brian Myers. Apologies if you're getting the sun. The sun has come out crazily. I'm just going to try and shut the curtain a little bit. Probably hasn't worked very well at all, has it? No, it's the other curtain. But nevertheless, it's worked a bit better. Yeah, the fog has cleared in the UK. Blast, anyway, Brian Myers with it. He then blasts each member of the system as he tries to get it. He hits the spin the block on Myers with the chain in hand. And he is sick of everyone in the system. And he calls out Moose and challenges him to get his baby boy bitch ass out to the ring. And of course, the fans chant baby boy bitch. But he didn't actually show up at this point. He heads to the back to look for him and gets a baseball bat to the head from Moose. And he says he's got to be careful what he wishes for and walks off and leaves Santana laying unconscious as we head to a commercial break. Well, they will be colliding next weekend at Bound for Glory, which in a match that I'm really looking forward to as well. Santana has been on a mission since he come back to TNA. He wants to eradicate the system, and he's had a lot of issues with the system as well, which is quietly the reason why he wants to eradicate them. And they will go one on one at Bound for Glory. Another one, people that will go one on one at Bound for Glory is Jordan Grace and Masha Slamovich. Matt Raywald is sitting in between them. They talk about their history, but Grace does question Slamovich crossing her picture on a wall of victims. They keep strolling down memory lane. Slamovich talking about having to sit idly by while Grace worked the Royal Rumble. Grace did talk about Slamovich being a former undefeated queen of the Knockouts division until Jordan Grace beat her and beat her again. Then beat her for a third time. And that basically eats at Slamovich every day. And Slamovich assures Grace that one way or another, she is leaving Bound for Glory with the Knockouts Championship. And on that note, she walks away. Ooh, I think Slamovich might do it. I don't know. I just feel that somebody from the WWE or NXT is going to cost Jordan Grace that title. That's my belief. That's seriously what I think. Um, yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. And Slamovich will walk away the knockout championship. We'll do a prediction show next Friday after TNA. We'll run down the card for Bound for Glory after we do the Impact Wrestling review. And I'll give you my predictions for Bound for Glory. But there's one of them right there. Nick Nemeth, Matt Cardona, it is main event time. But Kazarian decides to make his way out to the fantastic dismay of Tom Hannifan as he walks his way out onto commentary as Cardona hits the ring for his match. This was a brilliant match. This was like WWE style, I'm not saying main event, but WWE style match. They worked. They did have the fact that Cardona had security in case PCO come out as well. So this was, headed into their Monsters Ball match. Obviously, Monsters Ball returns next week at Bound for Glory with PCO and Cardona. But this match was really good. What I did like though is every time Cardona lays Nemeth out or hits him with something, he's looking over his shoulder for PCO and looking over his shoulder at PCO. And this was so good. Um, but interestingly enough, on commentary, Kazarian keeps bringing up that he's a part of the main event at Bound for Glory. It's like, you're not. You're not part of the Bound for Glory match, and it's going to be Joe Hendry Nemeth one-on-one. And every time they mention it, Kaz is playing it off and playing it off, and he'll be involved regardless, and all of this stuff. Then we get to the kind of the end of the match, and Cardona hits a super kick on Nemeth hits a super kick on Cardona. He begins to take over, but without the referee noticing, Cardona hits a low blow on Nemeth. And as he's going to hit the finish, the lights in the impact zone begin to flicker. You know what that means, right? Here he comes. The French Canadian Frankenstein himself as the thunder rumbles through the impact zone. PCO joins in and takes out the security guards one by one, decimating them. Cardona looks on in fear, and whilst he's distracted, Nemeth hits the danger zone and gets the victory. And at that point, PCO picks up a lifeless Matt Cardona and carries on his shoulders to the back. Man, maybe we'll see more of that next week. However, as Nick Nemeth is celebrating the win, Kazarian leaves his spot and attacks the TNA World Champion from behind. The fans then go crazy because they hear the familiar theme song of Joe Hendry, and he comes and makes a save for his opponent at Bound for Glory next weekend. And the two beat down Kazarian, actually. And then Kazarian gets on the mic and was like, "Did you enjoy that? Did you enjoy the fact that they just beat me up?" And they said they make it clear they did actually. And then Kazarian said they hope that they equally infused about his next announcement. And he pulls out a referee shirt, and Kazarian is going to be the referee for the main event at Bound for Glory next weekend between Joe Hendry And Nick Nemeth, he's been named like an enforcer or referee for the match next week, which just adds a whole new complexion onto the TNA World Title match at Bound for Glory. Does that change the finish? Does it change the ending? Do we still believe that Joe Hendry's going to pick up the win? We've only got a week to find out. But before we get to that, next week on TNA, the Bound for Glory dual contract signing will be there. The Hardys and the ABC will take on the System. Wendy Cho will take on Jodie Fret. They will have the VIP makeover launch party of Ash by Elegance, and in a match that I simply cannot wait for next week, Jonathan Gresham versus Josh Alexander will be, if they go, I don't know how, as long as there's no interference, this match is going to be absolutely fantastic. But everybody, do not forget TNA Plus app. Get it downloaded, get subscribed, watch your weekly TNA wrestling on there, including Bound for Glory next weekend. I eventually got it right on there. It is available on AXS TV over in America. You can also stream it on DAZN. Now in the UK, Ayozat TV is coming off Sky and moving on to Freeview, guys. More information on that when I get it, but that will mean with it being on Freeview, it will be available to everybody and not just Sky customers. So please, 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 please remember that. I'll let you know when it's coming on and what channel, what Freeview it's going to be on. But it will be there. You can still stream it on Ayozat TV on the internet in the meantime. But fans of the UK, just remember that is coming on Freeview channel soon, and you'll be able to watch TNA every single Friday on Ayozat TV. Guys, keep it locked on our channel. Big thanks to the Demolition this week for their interview. It was fantastic to see them. We've got Eric Bischoff coming up on the channel as well. Keep it locked to HTT Buckle on Twitter or X, HTT Buckle on YouTube. Big thank you to over 6,000 subscribers now as well. Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast on Instagram. Look out for pictures and stuff and all sorts of fun that we're going to be having this weekend over at RCWA and on Slam Masters. It's a long travel weekend for that team HTTB, but we look forward to going to the shows. We look forward to being back next week for the go home for Bound for Glory. And until then, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and goodbye.